Two people are so consumed by their feelings for each other that their passion destroys not only themselves, but nearly everyone around them across 2 generations. We have been taught to call this one of the greatest love stories ever written. Emily Bronté's Wuthering Heights, published in 1847, is sold to us as the ultimate romance, a tale of a love so fierce it transcends death itself. But read it closely, with adult eyes, and a deeply uncomfortable question arises. What if this was never a love story at all? What if Brontë was not celebrating Heathcliff and Catherine's bond, but diagnosing it? Holding up obsession, possession, and mutual destruction, and daring us to see the difference between that and love. In 2026, in a culture that still romanticizes intensity and confuses it with devotion, this might be the most important book about relationships you could read. Here is what feels strange about how we remember this novel. We file it under great romances, alongside the idea that the most passionate love is the truest. We quote the intensity, the famous declarations of souls being made of the same substance, the wild devotion that outlasts death. And in doing so, we skip over what actually happens in the book, which is a catalogue of cruelty, revenge, manipulation, and ruin. Heathcliff and Catherine do not nurture each other. They torment each other and everyone in their orbit. Their bond is not warm, generous, or life-giving. It is consuming, possessive, and destructive. Brontë was a far sharper psychologist than the love label suggests. She was not writing a celebration of grand passion. She was writing an unflinching study of what happens when intensity is mistaken for love. Let me reframe the whole book. There is a crucial difference, one that modern psychology has spent decades clarifying, between love and obsession, between attachment that nourishes and attachment that devours. Real love generally wants the good of the other person, makes both people more themselves, and can coexist with respect, kindness, and freedom. Obsession wants to possess, merges identities to the point of erasure, and often expresses itself through control, jealousy, and a willingness to burn everything down rather than let go. By that distinction, what binds Heathcliff and Catherine looks far less like love and far more like obsession. Catherine famously says she is Heathcliff, that he is more herself than she is. We are taught to read this as the height of romance, but the total dissolution of one person into another is not the summit of love. It is the loss of the self, and it is a recipe for mutual destruction, which is exactly what the book delivers. To feel the truth of this, look at the wreckage. Heathcliff's devotion to Catherine does not make him kind. It makes him vengeful, cruel, and willing to spend his entire life destroying innocent people, including children of the next generation, to punish a world that kept him from her. Catherine's bond with Heathcliff does not make her whole. It tears her apart, drives her to a kind of madness, and contributes to her early death. Their love, if we must call it that, leaves a trail of ruined lives behind it. Brontë is not subtle about this. The passion that we are told is so beautiful is shown in detail to be a force of devastation. The book is practically begging us to notice that something this destructive cannot be the model of love we should aspire to. Psychology gives us precise language for what Brontë portrayed intuitively. There is a recognized pattern, sometimes called enmeshment or obsessive attachment, in which two people lose the healthy boundary between them, where one person's identity and stability become entirely dependent on the other, and where the relationship is marked by intensity, jealousy, and an inability to function apart. This kind of bond is frequently mistaken, especially when young, for the deepest love,
precisely because it feels so overwhelming. But intensity is not the same as health. The strength of a feeling tells you nothing about whether it is good for you. Some of the most destructive attachments are also the most intense, and Wuthering Heights is in sense the great literary case study of exactly this confusion. Now bring this into 2026, because the confusion is everywhere. Our culture still relentlessly romanticizes intensity. We are taught that real love is consuming, that jealousy is a sign of how much someone cares, that the most passionate, all-or-nothing, can't-live-without-you relationships are the most genuine. Songs, films, and endless online content celebrate the very dynamics that Brontë was warning against, treating possessiveness as devotion and obsession as the highest romance. Wuthering Heights, read correctly, is the antidote to this dangerous lesson. It shows you, across 2 generations of wreckage, where the worship of intensity actually leads, and it is not to a great love, it is to ruin. There is an idea in Uzbek culture that a fire in the hearth warms the home, but a fire let loose burns it down, that the same powerful force can give life or destroy, depending on whether it is contained with wisdom.
It captures Bronte's insight perfectly. Passion is not the enemy, but passion without respect, without boundaries, without genuine care for the other's good, is a fire let loose. Heathcliff and Catherine's love was a fire that consumed the whole house and everyone in it. Brontë is not telling you to feel less. She is showing you what happens when intense feeling is not joined to the things that make love actually good for the people in it. But here is a subtler layer that gives the book its lasting power, and it is not a simple lesson. Brontë does not write Heathcliff and Catherine as villains to be despised. She makes their bond genuinely compelling, even beautiful in its intensity, which is exactly why the book is so dangerous and so honest at once. She understands the real pull of this kind of love, the way it can feel like the most meaningful thing in the world, the way 2 wounded people can recognize something in each other that feels like home. Her achievement is to make you feel the seduction of obsessive love while showing you its devastation, so that you understand in your bones both why people fall into it and why it destroys them. That double vision is the mark of a great psychologist. She does not lecture, she lets you feel the fire's warmth and watch it burn the house down at the same time. I want to add a careful and genuinely important word, because this is the kind of story that can validate harmful patterns if it is misread. If you find yourself in a relationship marked by obsession, control, jealousy, the loss of your own identity, or a cycle of intensity and devastation, please do not mistake that for the great love of Wuthering Heights and romanticize it. The intensity of a bond is not proof of its goodness, and a love that consumes you, isolates you, or harms you is not the love this book secretly endorses. It is the warning the book is trying to give. Healthy love tends to make you more yourself, not less, and it can include calm, respect, and freedom, not only fire. If a relationship in your life feels more like ruin than warmth, that is worth talking through honestly with someone you trust. Read Wuthering Heights again, not as the ultimate romance, but as one of the most honest books ever written about the difference between love and obsession. It gives you language for the danger of worshipping intensity, for the way possession masquerades as devotion, for the wreckage that follows when 2 people lose themselves entirely in each other, and it leaves you with a question our intensity-obsessed culture badly needs to ask.
We have been taught that the most consuming love is the truest, but Brontë spent an entire novel showing us where that consuming love actually leads. So the next time you feel that overwhelming pull and are tempted to call it the greatest love of your life, it is worth asking the question she was really posing all along. Does this make me more myself, or is it slowly burning down the house? There is a further insight in the novel that is worth drawing out, because it explains why this kind of obsessive bond forms in the first place, and why it is so hard to escape. Heathcliff and Catherine are both, in their own ways, deeply wounded people, shaped by rejection, cruelty, and a world that never gave them a secure place to belong. Their bond is not the meeting of two whole people who choose each other freely. It is the desperate clinging of two damaged people who each try to fill the void in themselves with the other. And this is precisely the engine of obsessive attachment that modern psychology describes. The most consuming, can't-live-without-you bonds often form not from health, but from woundedness, when two people use each other to plug a hole that was made long before they met. The intensity that feels like destiny is frequently the intensity of two unmet needs colliding, each person demanding that the other become the cure for an old, deep injury that no other person can actually heal. Understanding this changes how you read the whole tragedy and how you might read your own life. When a relationship feels overwhelming, fated, impossible to leave even though it brings more pain than peace, that very intensity may be a signal worth examining rather than celebrating. It may mean that two wombs have found each other and are mistaking their mutual desperation for love. Brontë understood, long before the language existed, that the bonds that consume us most completely are often the ones built on what is broken in us, and that genuine healing rarely comes from finding someone to merge with entirely. It comes from tending the wound itself, so that you are able to love from wholeness rather than from need. The most romantic-seeming love in literature is, on closer inspection, a portrait of two people who never got to heal, and who destroyed each other and everyone around them, trying to make another person do the healing for them. Tell me in the comments, do you think Heathcliff and Catherine were a great love story or a cautionary tale, and where do you draw the line between passion and obsession? If you want more deep dives that turn the stories you think you know inside out, subscribe and check the description for further reading. One honest note before you go, this video uses AI-generated audio and visuals, and it offers reflection, not professional advice. If anything here echoed a relationship in your own life, please treat it as worth talking through with someone you trust rather than carrying alone. This was just one reader's thoughts, offered to make you think.